Cool. Hopefully that works.
Sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Get Trashed.
Yes, let's do it.
We're talking one of my, this is what I call an indie darling, all right? One of my favorite, honestly, one of my favorite movies of last year. Not a big movie, not like a huge production, or, and certainly didn't get like a ton of acclaim. But Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All.
Guadagnino's.
Yeah. Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All, and boy, howdy, did I enjoy this one, folks.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Of course, as you know by now, if you've watched even one episode of this podcast, I'm certain you know that I have an unabashed affinity for Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
He's our best actor.
He's the last hope.
Yeah, he's the last great hope. Not only is he our best actor, but he only does good movies. That's really what's the best thing about him. Even if because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know that much about acting. I've never acted. I can't watch him and like, oh my God, those are the best facial expressions of any actor I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is, like Leonardo DiCaprio before him, this kid only does good movies. If he's in it, it's a good movie because he cares. I say this a million times, he could put on a cape and make $1 billion.
Yeah.
He could.
I would.
Yeah.
I would do that I would sell that immediately.
I hope he doesn't. He's in that new Apple commercial, and he's very funny in the Apple TV commercial, where he wants a TV show. But I think that's just a joke. Don't go to TV, Timothy, please. Don't do TV. Definitely don't do some like big budget. If Apple buys a superhero, don't do it. Don't do it, Timothy.
Yeah.
Because you're too good at making crazy, weird, obscure, like what a weird role this is in Bones and All, and making it so likable and realistic and interesting and everything that's like great.
I just had like a view in my mind of you like at the movies and a trailer comes on. It's like a new Batman movie and he's playing Robin and you're just like, no.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it would be like. That is precisely my reaction. I mean, yeah, it would be crazy.
Yeah.
When did you see Bones and All?
Well, I just finished the last 40 minutes of it because I'd started it and hadn't finished it.
Okay.
So I just watched the last bit of it. So yeah, it's still pretty fresh.
Good. You've seen it more recently than I have. I didn't get a chance to rewatch it because I watched it a few months ago back when it was still in theaters.
Cool.
But I've been thinking about it a ton, and it's a great movie and a great concept. This idea of taking a movie that could be just like any horror movie or any kind of scary movie or whatever, could be anything like that, and making it
fun. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
No,
well,
making it interesting, I would say, is probably, I don't know.
definitely making it interesting.
Making it a real story. Usually horrors are like very outlandish, impossible, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. But also it's a movie about cannibals, or I actually consider them to be more like vampires. I call them vampires rather than cannibals. But whatever, you can think of it however you want to. It's a movie about cannibals that is not a movie about cannibals. What
Yeah,
it is,
it's made like a new monster almost.
Yeah, well, it's a movie about people that don't fit in. It's a movie about like, the dregs of society. You know what I mean?
I didn't pick up on that at all. But
it's a movie about like homeless people. It's a movie about anybody that's like
on the outside,
on the fringe. It's literally
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
literally
that's
a fringe group.
I mean, when you said that, it really clicked in my mind. Like, yeah, it kind of is about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a group of it's a thing about marginalized community. Now, obviously, this particular group of people, there's no way. I was thinking about this on my drive home. I was like, I understand this is supposed to be some sort of allegory for like the fringes of society and how these people don't get the care they need and how they're not mainstream and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, how would we integrate cannibals into mainstream society?
Yeah.
If like but there's probably some like some contingent of super libs they'll
That would make
donate
it
their
work.
bodies, like
Yeah, yeah.
organ
It'll be on
donors.
like
They're
a
like,
yeah, it'll be on a driver's license for sure.
yeah, donate their bodies to getting eaten.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, doesn't even seem crazy. Like that's barely a joke.
That's yeah, no, for sure, 100%. They're. Oh, I thought of another joke that I'll have to text you later.
Okay.
It's a little too spicy for this podcast. Um, but yeah, so it starts off. We'll just get right into it. I don't even know if we'll do like a spoilers or whatever thing. But let's starts off. We have a young. And it's also I don't know. There's so many like themes in this movie, or so many like truisms that really kind of resonated with me. But it starts with this girl, Marin. Marlon, Marin.
Um,
Marin.
it,
Her name is Marin.
Marin. Yeah, Marin Yearly, which is kind of a cool last name.
Yeah. Well, she and her father are below the poverty line, to say the least. And she's the new girl at school. From what we can tell, early on, she's always the new girl at school. Dad moves a lot. Anyway, one of the hot, popular girls with money, uh, rather than being a stereotypical like bully, like you would expect from an '80s movie, this takes place in the '80s. She's not a mean girl bully. She's nice, and she makes an overture. She likes this girl, and she wants to invite her over. Wants to be friends with me. Come over and have a sleepover with my friends. Right? Marin goes, I can't. My dad's super strict. And she's like, well, the offer's open if you decide to sneak out or something like that. And they both giggle or whatever. And then that's exactly what Marin does. Marin's father locks her in her room and then goes to bed. And I'm watching this, again, not really knowing what's going on. I'm here because it's a Timo movie. I'm here for
Yeah.
Timo. I'm like, this girl's getting locked in her room. Damn, this dad's a piece of shit. What a nasty dude. Why are you locking your daughter up? And she breaks out. She finds a way to break out. She climbs out her window, runs up the hill to the runs across the tracks, figuratively, maybe even literally,
Yeah.
to the good side of town, up the hill, and goes to her friend's house. And then they're all hanging out. Bunch of girls hanging out. Some of them are listening to records or cassettes. And then Marin and our nice girl, our host, the girl that invited her, they're hanging out underneath a very cool shot, underneath like a what's that table called? The table you hit your
Like a
shins on?
coffee. Yeah,
Coffee
like
table.
a coffee table. Yeah, like
Yeah,
a glass coffee table.
Yeah, they're lying under the glass coffee table, and we're looking at them through this pane of glass. And it goes from being like friendly to like almost kind of sexual, right?
Yep.
They start they're like holding hands, and then one of them like licks the other one's finger. One of them the girl licks Marin's finger, and then Marin, in a presumptively reciprocative move, puts her friend's finger in her mouth. Also, to the viewer
Sometimes
thinks,
you do that as friends. You just put your friend's fingers in your mouth.
yeah, that's true. That actually, I did have a friend put his finger in my mouth one time, but that was because I was gonna choke and die if I didn't stop throwing up alcohol or whatever.
And that's usually okay to do.
He was very drunk, and I was extremely drunk, and he was trying to help me throw up because they thought I was going to die of alcohol poisoning if I didn't. He didn't. I don't know how he missed that I had been throwing up for minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, this girl sticks her hand into the poor girl's mouth, expecting a kiss or a lick, and it gets, spoilers from here on out, bitten the fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. That shit threw me for a loop. I
That
thought it
was,
was more of a vampire thing. I didn't know it was like a cannibal thing. So
I
shit
thought it
changed in
was,
my mind at that point.
you know what I was thinking? Because I didn't know, again, I don't even think I watched a trailer for it. I went to go see the new Timo movie, and I heard Timothy Chalamet is a cannibal, and it's like a cannibal love story. So I'm thinking we got a regular girl. This, this black girl's our main character, Marin. She's a regular girl, but she's obviously comes up poor.
Sure.
She's gonna run away from home. She's gonna find herself. Here's what I'm thinking. I have the whole kind of thing planned out in my head. I remember it. I'm thinking she's gonna wind up, with Timothy Chalamet, and she's gonna now have a boyfriend who's a cannibal. But
And they'll navigate that over
yeah,
and
that's gonna be the thing.
yeah,
And
sure.
she's never, she's never had much anyways, and she finally has a nice boyfriend. He's not perfect. He eats people. But whatever. I thought it
So,
was gonna be that.
no one's perfect.
I thought it was gonna be that. I didn't think it was gonna be she bites the hand that feeds her. I mean, she bites the hand of the person that's like nice to her.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of stuck with me about this movie. I mean, it's a simple premise, and it's obviously something like, and anybody could think of. But if you look at it on the surface, most of the pain that comes from this movie is like it's inflicted by the people. It's inflicted on the people that are like trying to be close to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because frankly, that's who we hurt in real life is people close to us.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a stranger, you can't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, that's true.
I
You can
challenge
annoy me, but you can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I challenge every person to comment the meanest thing you can. If you don't know me, if you're just like a person who watches this show or listens to it, go to YouTube, leave some comments, leave the meanest comment about me that you possibly can.
And get
And
creative with it.
yeah, do whatever you want. If I don't recognize your name, I swear to Christ, it'll mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
You can talk about. There's nothing you can say that I won't have already thought a million times. Like, but if I don't know. There's people in my life that could write something. I was like, damn it, that really sucks. You can only hurt people that are close to you, and vice versa.
Hmm.
Unless as far as like, but that's what this girl makes a nice overture to her. Like, come to my house, be my friend, be a part of our group. You don't have to be this outsider, but she does have to be an outsider because she's a fucking vampire.
Yeah. She is a weirdo and she has to be a weirdo.
Yeah, guess what? She earned it. And then we find out Dad isn't moving all over the goddamn place because he just like,
The fucking shithead,
yeah, he's
deadbeat.
right. He's not a dude with a job that's taking him everywhere, and he's also not a bank robber that has to keep going. He's got a fucking fucked up shitty daughter that keeps eating people. So
And he's not a cannibal. So
No.
he's just like dealing with his daughter.
Yeah. And then after this, what we determine is the latest in a string of similar incidences. What does Dad do?
Well, he leaves her because he can't take it no mo. Because his mom did something similar. He leaves her a tape, kind of explaining. He leaves kind of in the dead of night and leaves a tape, just kind of explaining why he left. And it's kind of a cool narrative throughout the movie because she's kind of listening to portions of the tape on her journey as a solo teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, I have in mind. So the dad left her a cassette tape he like recorded.
Kind of a cool way to leave someone, kind of badass in a way, especially if you use the entirety of the tape.
Yeah. Oh, her dad invented podcasting.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
That's
Campbell's dad invented podcasting.
That's the first podcast.
Yeah.
Is
you just have ideas and you're like, hey, you should listen to this.
Well, this dude leaving his daughter in the middle of the 80s,
yeah,
giving her a cassette. That's the first ever podcast.
That's how I'm doing it. That's how I'm leaving my family, just like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm not even gonna give them new episodes. I'm just gonna send them links to old episodes, like this one right now. Sweetie, I'm
this is
gone.
this is what I was like.
Yeah, this is how awesome I was.
You really
Um,
missed out.
so what uh, so now she's on her own, and her dad's left her. She has some old timey paperwork. She has her dad's stuff, and now she's on a mission to find someone who's never been in her life, her mother,
Yeah.
and that is what kind of starts our movie. She gets on a bus. She takes the bus. She doesn't even have money for the bus. Dad doesn't even really leave her any money to like do anything. Not that they had a lot. He spent all of it. He spends all of it moving from terrible place to terrible place, and he just couldn't take it anymore. So he leaves, and she takes what money she has, and she has to get as close as she can to her mom's hometown. She has her mom's birth certificate.
Yeah.
So
And she knows her mom's a cannibal, so she's like, well, maybe my mom will be,
no, she doesn't know that.
I think so. I thought so through the tape.
Does she? Does the dad?
Yeah, I thought the dad disclosed it.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that as recently.
I think she was thinking like, oh, maybe my mom can help me deal with this,
Yeah, well, that's certainly her thought is that I have this affliction. If my mom had it, I have to find my mom anyways, just because I don't know anything about my life.
Yeah.
But also, if my mom has it and is managing it, why the hell isn't she here teaching me how to do it? Right?
Straight up.
Which is also a great question. So now that's what it is. It's a girl's trip to find her mom, and she gets off at the last stop she can afford, and she's wandering around trying to figure out her lodging, trying to figure out how she's going to hitchhike to her next destination now that the bus is no longer an option. And let's see. Let me make sure I'm not. Oh yeah, okay. Make sure I found my notes that I took from this movie, but because I took them so long ago, I have them in a different order. Oh, this is hilarious. That's definitely the end. Okay, that's the last page. So she's walking around. She gets approached by an older man, a middle-aged man. What were you thinking when you saw you saw our character Sully on screen?
Yeah. It was definitely creepy as fuck. I did kind of think that he had to have been a sort of like veteran cannibal vampire person, kind of just from what was happening, I guess.
Yeah, well, we learned something. He says that he smelled her.
Yes, and that kind of was like, I was like, oh, maybe he's probably one of her. Yeah, so we have Mark Rylance as the actor,
Okay,
who I'm honestly not a huge fan of. I don't know how you feel about him.
I can't remember. I looked him up after this movie. I can't remember what else I've seen him in, if anything.
He's in Don't Look Up, which you've probably seen.
I have seen.
Yeah, he's in that. He plays like the Steve Jobs character.
Oh, he was funny as that. I hated
Yeah.
that Steve Jobs character, but he was good. He did a good job.
I guess I don't know. I just something about him. For no reason. I just don't really like him. But I thought it was cool that he was in this like interesting kind of movie. Also, who directed this movie? Anyone we know?
Luca Guadagnino.
Maybe I don't know because you said it earlier. Maybe I
Yeah,
don't know
Luca Guadagnino, the same guy. I've seen two of this guy's movies. The other one, another Timothée Chalamet movie called Call Me by Your Name.
Okay, I don't think I saw that one.
It's great. That's what got Timothy his Oscar nom. Although he didn't win, and I just broke my mic stand.
Yeah, so we got this guy. I'll just pick it up, basically, but who says that he can smell her. And he obviously there's some more power dynamics to this affliction or this cannibal thing than meets the eye, or than just eating people. There's a class of these people around the world with I guess some abilities that can be developed. Is kind of what we find out.
Well, we find out that she's not alone, because we didn't know, we didn't know what the situation was, but she's not alone, and he offers to be her mentor. He brings her to a dying woman's house. He found someone with his nose. He teaches her that you can smell these things. He teaches her kind of how to use her nose to find stuff, find other cannibals, other eaters that they call each other,
Yeah.
other eaters, and also find some prey. Him being seems to be like he's a creepy dude,
Yeah.
obviously.
Immediately creepy.
Creepy dude, but then she's no fucking she's no bucket of peaches either.
Yeah.
She
He's not
people.
hiding that he's a creep.
Right.
At all.
But seems to me a pretty good dude because he finds a woman who's dying, an elderly old woman.
Yeah.
She's dying. Now he's not making any effort to save her, but he's not the one that's killing her. She's dying of old age. She's dying of natural causes in front of him. But he doesn't call the EMTs, which I guess is what you're supposed to do. You know what? I take it back. I might have jumped the gun when I was like, he's a good dude. Because all he did was not. All he did
just
was
let
not
this
kill
girl
someone.
die over a long period of time, or what seems to be a fair amount of time to get her help.
It took most of the evening, yeah. But he's a cannibal, but he's not out murdering people. He's waiting for people to die of natural causes, and then he's eating them.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, if you're a cannibal, that's as good as we can hope for, right?
I mean, yeah, it was kind of interesting. There was a cool reveal to that I liked, where she's in a house and you just think it's his house, and he's just like fucking with like appliance shit and like cutlery in the house in the kitchen, and then he's like, she's upstairs.
Yeah.
She's been dying.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, this isn't his house. He's crazy. He is a creep.
He's cooking like a regular dinner.
Yeah.
And offering her some regular dinner, but he's like, the real shit's upstairs. We find
Yeah.
out.
You'll find out later.
Yeah. He wants to be, and so they share this meal together. He shares his food with her. He shares this woman with her. And they eat it together. And she's satiated. She's like, this is her first time eating a body. We can tell.
Whole ass person.
Yeah, it's always been her like biting her classmates.
A finger here, an ear there.
Yeah. Or just being like, and if you teach in a school, especially like elementary, you're like, this kid's a fucking biter.
Yeah.
And so it gets brushed off that way, I'm sure, a lot in her younger years. Except for the mom recognized it early on, which is part of why mom bailed on the family, because she knew her daughter was also going to turn out to be like her.
A fucking freak.
Yeah. Anyway, she's getting creepy. Even though this guy is very nice to her and offers to be her mentor, offers to take her under his wing, they can travel together, and he can teach her the ropes of how to do this kind of stuff. She turns that offer down, runs away in the middle of the night. Doesn't even do like a, hey man, thanks, but I gotta make this trip happen. So, but I appreciate it. Maybe I'll see you around, and we'll compare notes then. But I gotta do this. I gotta do this on my own.
Notes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
she could have said something. This is not to say it's a little her fault, but it's a little her fault. She could have said something, because she just runs out on this dude in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and he takes it poorly. We see him a bunch more times in this film, at times when we shouldn't. But now we're looking at the other theme. I mean, it's kind of the same theme as what I was talking about earlier, of like, we hurt those closest to us. But also, that theme of like being marginalized or being so isolated that all these people, they're looking for love. They're looking for companionship. They're looking for some sort of acceptance. They're looking for somebody to care about them.
Yeah.
This dude finally finds another young cannibal, a young eater. It's a girl. I think that plays into some of his. One of my notes later is I wrote just the words incel Sully. His name's Sullivan Sully, so I wrote incel Sully on one of my notes.
Yeah, he's mad at her. Classic incel for not liking.
For not immediately like loving him back.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that until he said it later. But either way, he's just looking for some kind of acceptance, and so was she. That's why she broke out of her. She didn't break out of her room in the middle of the night to go get a free meal off her friend's hand.
Yeah.
She broke out of her house because she wanted the acceptance. She wanted a friend. She wanted somebody to be like in her life and to have something. And then when she was there, she had gotten everything she thought she wanted. She took a fucking bite, dude.
She was still hungry.
That's the thing, is like these people can't help their nature. They still want all the human things that we all want, but their proclivities has pushed them to the edge where they can't get that acceptance.
Yep.
Which of course, this is obviously, I don't know if anybody's going to be insulted by this comparison, but I read after watching this film, I read like the tagline, or I read like the poster byline or something, where the 2-sentence blurb, and it was a young woman. Here's all it said. It didn't say anything about cannibalism. It says a young woman tries to navigate Ronald Reagan's America in this something, and I was like, "How the fuck you blaming? How the fuck you blaming Ronald Reagan for this shit? This bitch eats people."
Yeah.
That's not.
I mean, the time period, I could see what they're trying to do. Like,
well, they could just say in the 80s, but to be like Ronald Reagan's America, a young black woman's not getting what she needs. It's like,
and that's why she's a cannibal.
And she's like, yeah, that's arguably true for actual young black people. This is this is her fault.
Yeah.
Don't blame the Republicans for this. But the analog, or what I think they're trying to say, is that in a kind of, I don't know, and maybe I'm just fucked up reading this, but it's like the cannibals are like, they're gay people. Because obviously we had AIDS came out in the 80s, and the gay community was obviously most horrifically impacted by that.
Yep.
And again, it's this group of people that they just needed acceptance. They needed the help. They needed people to like understand them and reach out to them and make this kind of stuff. But people, Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan's America, was hesitant to do that kind of stuff because they just didn't understand it. Now, obviously, if they were just biting each other's faces off in the streets, then they wouldn't have.
It's going to present some problems.
Yeah, they
wouldn't be where they are now.
They wouldn't have a leg to stand on as far as the whole, hey.
Yeah, that does seem fucked up.
Yeah, you guys abandoned us. You guys didn't properly care for gay people. I was like, I don't know, dude. You bit a chick's throat on 4th Street. Like, what the fuck you want from me? That's not. But
what do you want? You want to get married? What do you want?
Yeah. Either way, that's kind of like what I was picking up as far as like the analogy.
Yeah, sure.
This kind of thing, and then of course, leading to like the spread or the further spread of AIDS is like because it's considered an unacceptable activity. These people are they're finding themselves. They're not having sex in hotels where they might get caught and kicked out and never allowed to. Credit card never works at a Hilton ever again.
Yeah,
they're in these clubs. They're in on the fringe. They're in these other places doing their activities that people aren't like happy with, and that leads to unsafe conditions. You put yourself in contact with people that don't have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. We haven't even gotten to Timo yet, but that's where we are now. Marin shoplifting. Really, really great scene. Go to YouTube and watch the director, Timothy, and the actress who plays Marin, whose name I've already forgotten. They break down
Taylor
the
Russell.
scene. What's that?
Taylor Russell.
Taylor Russell, thank you. Taylor, Timothy, and Luca, they break down this scene where Taylor and Timothy meet for the first time in a grocery store. Really cool scene, really good. And then she finds herself standing up to an old man for the first time because there's some guy walking around being an asshole in this shop. In this
Reagan, he's being a true Reagan American.
Yeah, he's putting his stamp on Ronald Reagan's America. He's just like shouting at people. He's being a dick. And Marin stands up to an older man for the first time in her life because she tells him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And before he even responds to her, Timothy steps in to take over. He's immediately on Marin's side. I'm also going to tell this guy to shut the fuck up, and I'm going to cause a problem.
Yep.
And there's so many cool little details. We start to see the beginning of like how Timothy's character constructs his wardrobe. You know, a little bit of piece of everybody.
Very androgynous.
Yeah. But what's also interesting about it, or interesting to me, is that I do have, as much as I thoroughly enjoy the work of Timothy Chalamet, I do have a criticism about him that I've said on this podcast, and I've said it on my Twitter. But Timothy Chalamet needs to lose a fight in a movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I've seen almost every single thing he's done. I'm getting pretty close to everything.
Excuse me.
This kid, he has not taken a single L in his filmography. Okay.
Yeah.
And it just, at some point, it's like, look, man, you're too good of an actor to have this Vin Diesel clause in your contract where you need to lose a fist fight.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? It at some point, it's just not believable, and I'm noticing it. He wins the sword fight in Dune. He wins a fucking sword/fist fight in The King. He shows up skinny,
and he's skin and bones in every fight.
Yeah, he's the skinniest dude on any battlefield, and he's just wrecking motherfuckers with his fists.
Yeah.
And it's so unbelievable. I just got to be like, kid, you gotta take a role where you get beat up. You can't always. You're not this cool. Either don't fight in movies or lose a couple, because it's starting to get unrealistic. But Timothy takes this dude from the shopping center, from the grocery store. He takes him outside, and they're going to fight. And wouldn't you know it, Timothy wins this fight, and the dude's missing. We don't even see this guy until Timothy comes out with blood all over his face from like a abandoned warehouse across the street. And Marin sees blood on Timothy's face, being like, oh, shit. Okay, well, Lee is his name. Lee, right?
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah. Marin sees Lee with blood on his face. She's going, okay, he's like me. I thought I smelled something. My smell thing is getting good. I'm smelling other cannibals. Also, he lured that guy off to a thing, clearly won the fight, and also
ate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
as not only is he winning fights, he's eating people.
Yeah, it's as big a win as you can possibly do. So anyway, that's how they get connected, and this is a story of them falling in love. They're young love.
That's their meet cute.
Yeah, that's their meet cute. Meat spelled MEAT.
Oh shit.
And yeah, of course, Timothy's sexy, because that's the other thing. He can't lose fights, and he can't not be hot in every movie. Or maybe that says something about me. It takes.
This is his fashion moment. This movie for sure. He's like, his clothes are just
he's
like
wearing
cool
he's
as
wearing
hell.
80s stuff. They said that they had to find, like, he has his hair dyed. They had to find some hair dye that like was actually made in the 80s. They didn't just find whatever. At one point that I learned from the director's thing, again, talking about this kind of thematic stuff, is that the idea that these people are looking for acceptance. The reason Lee dyes his hair and wears this kind of weird and then the reason Sully wears all these medals and all this kind of stuff, these people, in addition to looking for some sort of acceptance, they're looking to express themselves. They have no
Sure.
outlet to express themselves, anything like that. Uh, but at this point, I'm so engrossed in this world, right? Weren't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm already interested in seeing kind of where they're going to go and what they're going to do. Like their adventure, because it's clear that this adventure is theirs. You
Yeah.
know, as soon as they meet, you're like, oh, this is their story.
Yeah, and the fact that they're cannibals is almost what I love about it is that it's almost incidental.
Sure.
They're cannibals, sure, but it's not a horror movie. It's not a scary movie. It's not a thing about like whatever. It's a story about people trying to they just happen to be cannibals, but they're
Mhm.
trying to find their place in the world. Okay. So, this movie is just a love story at this point. Um they're both drifters. Obviously, they're both out on they're both on the outskirts. So Timothy takes Lee takes Marin back to his like home. They go visit his home for a little bit. They travel around. They meet some different characters, interesting characters, some scary, some terrifying characters, other eaters who don't have the same kind of sense of morality that they seem to. And it's just this fascinating world. There's way more cannibals than you think. They can all kind of smell each other. That's how they approach each other. Again, drawing parallels. It's what some people call gaydar, right?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
yeah. Gaydar, vampire smell, kind of the same thing. Uh, it's filmed very interesting. Again, it's on 35 millimeter. It's
The whole thing is.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was filmed 35 millimeter. Uh, the lighting was like they did research to find out like 80s, how films were lit and that kind of stuff like that. It really looks like it looks like an 80s film.
It does. Yeah.
Um, which is great. There's tons of shaky cam, lots of cuts from. Obviously, this movie takes place in very dark areas, and there's lots of cuts from dark things into something super bright. So that kind of like shocked my eyes a bunch of times in the theater. Um, we'll skip over the. I mean, there's all the different ways that they get their. They find ways to get food or whatever. Lee is accompanying uh Marin on her journey to find her mom. They eventually figure it out, and mom is in a mental institution in whatever, Michigan or whatever.
That might have been one of the most uncomfortable parts of the movie.
1,000%, very weird. With Leah Sadu as the mom, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
No, it's actually Chloe
Oh yeah, Chloe Sevigny. That's who it was.
Sevigny. Yeah.
Yes, Chloe Cervini or Sevigny. I don't know
Yeah.
how to say it, but yeah, that's right. Not Leah. It was Chloe. Yes, and she has no hands. She ate her
Yeah.
own hands off.
It's obvious. Yeah, from to like here,
Yeah.
she's like just nubbing it.
And so you saw that scene more recently, but she was crazy. She didn't like say anything. She couldn't communicate. She just had gone nuts, right?
Yeah. I mean, she'd gone nuts and um, even the hospital clerk was like a little hesitant to show her,
Yeah.
this poor lady. It's very sad. And then you see her with the sort of the nubby shit going on, and you're like, oh, she's eating her fucking self. And then
She attacks her own
yeah,
daughter.
she attacks her, and it's like, oh, okay, she's fucking crazy. And she's probably crazy because of her hunger, I imagine, too, is playing a part of it. I don't know how much
Oh,
is
the
her
fact that she
psychosis
hasn't.
and the
But
fact that she's just probably starving and a cannibal. Because
yeah.
this is like how they survive. It's not like they just like to eat people. This is a part of their survival.
Well, I don't know. Do we know that?
That's
Because
kind of what I gathered.
because at the end of the movie, and I know we're trying to wrap it up. At the end of the movie, uh, they make a life for themselves in Michigan. They Lee and again, we're in spoilers, folks. Lee and Marin, they make a pact with each other to, hey, we're
Be
not
normal
gonna
people.
we're not gonna eat people. Let's just live a normal life. Um, that's how they try to live out there, and of course, events people conspire to not let that happen. And we won't even spoil who that is or what that part. We won't get that part into it. But they are making an effort to not ever eat anybody again. So I think it's possible. You know what it reminded me of? I'm a huge fan of the book series The Witcher. I don't like the TV show on Netflix at all, but I
Oh,
do.
I knew it was a game. I didn't know it was like a successful book series.
They're great books
Oh, cool.
and great video games. The Witcher 3 is the best video game ever.
Hell yeah.
And then the books that it's based off of are incredible. If you've played the video game, there's a character named Regis who's a vampire. He's from the books. Regis from the Blood and Wine what's that downloadable content?
Yeah.
The Blood and Wine expansion pack. Regis is a vampire. The way vampires work, well, there's a bunch of different types of vampires in the Witcher world, and I don't want to nerd out on this for too long, but Regis is like a higher vampire. He's the kind of vampire we think of. He's a Dracula type motherfucker. He's a dude that can talk and do his taxes and shit, but also he's a vampire. However,
he can flip ramps.
Yeah.
He can go to the grocery store.
yeah, he can do sick kick flips,
He can do
but he's also a vampire.
He has a flamethrower, but he also has a wife and kids.
In the world of The Witcher, this type of vampire, like the human being vampire that we all think of, they're addicted to blood, but they don't need it to survive.
Oh, it's like alcoholism.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's why Regis is a sober vampire when we meet him in the
I like
book.
that take. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, because he was a party animal in his youth,
Ah,
killing all kinds of people and eating all kinds of stuff with all his vampire friends, and he eventually started feeling terrible about this like destruction he was leaving. So he decided to never drink human blood again because he doesn't need it to survive. It's just the thing that they love the most.
well, Lee does make a reference about eating a certain someone that I won't say that, and he said he felt extremely high off of it. I don't know if you
Yes,
remember that part, but
yes,
he was
I
like,
do.
because Marin asked him how did it feel, and he was like, I was incredibly high. So it could be
Yeah,
just like a weird high that they experience.
right. Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of the same type of thing. They try to go sober at the end of it, I think.
Yeah.
And then and anyway, the point of this, it's so moody, it's so interesting, it's such a great film. It sounds like it'd be weird. I know you, if you're watching this thinking a vampire movie or a cannibal movie, a cannibal romance, who cares? I don't know, it's a fascinating kind of movie. And then all I've got, I just got some jokes because this whole thing takes place in the Midwest. So, it's like typical liberal Hollywood bullshit, calling everyone in the Midwest vampires.
Yeah.
I'm sorry they're not cool enough for you LA
Yeah.
pieces of shit. And then incel Sully. We did talk about how Sully becomes our bad guy because he's an incel. That's another common thing because we had just watched and we reviewed Don't Worry, Darling. Another movie where incels are the bad guy.
Yeah.
Again, it's the 80s in the
There's
Midwest.
a theme here, folks. Incels have been around forever.
Yeah, this is a movie about in the Midwest. You're surrounded by vampires. There's way more vampires than you think there are. Yet somehow still in 2023 the bad guy has to be an incel.
Incels are past, present, and future.
Yeah. This is the 80s in Arkansas. Bill and Hillary Clinton literally live in Arkansas and they are actual real life vampires, but they're not the bad guys.
These are good jokes, Nick.
Yeah,
I like
right?
these jokes. They're good bits.
I'll text you one that didn't make the pod.
Didn't make the cut. Okay. I like
but yeah, so Bill and Hillary. Uh, and
More
then
like Bill and Hillary. That's what I
there
call
we go. There we go. That's the kind of wordplay I hired you for. And then just uh, one other thing that was making me laugh while I was watching the movie, because even though I really enjoyed the movie, I still laugh thinking about like weird shit that could fuck this movie up. And I kept laughing thinking about like, oh, I hope Blade shows up.
That would be hilarious.
If Wesley Snipes' Blade just showed up and cut Timothy Chalamet's head off,
Hey, that's how he loses the fight.
yeah, he
And
finally,
then
yeah,
Wesley
he
Snipes
should
is
move to Blade. And
this
then I
movie was
was,
just a setup for the new Blade movie, which they
yeah,
will be making.
yeah, if they, well, actually, they just like canceled it.
Oh, is it not getting made?
Well, something happened. There is some news on the Blade because they were gonna make Blade. They were gonna make it PG-13 because it's all Marvel now. And
No, you can't do that with
the
Blade.
the director, you know what? They fired the director or the director left. I can't remember. Something happened to disrupt the making of Blade.
Yeah.
Thank God. So we have a few more years without having to see fucking new Blade.
New Blade.
And then yeah, another thing is Timothy. I have a note that Timothy grows up. This is all Blade jokes. Timothy grows up to be Steven Dorff.
Yeah, okay.
So because again, Blade comes out in the '90s.
Yep.
Steven Dorff
Ooh.
in Blade is a skinny white guy vampire who's creepy, and
Yeah. I
so
see.
Timo grows up to be Steven Dorff.
Yeah, you got to write that fan fiction.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is Marin. She's Blade's black mom.
Ooh, I like that.
That's who abandoned baby Blade at the hospital.
Oh, this is the best fan fiction.
Wesley
I've
Snipes'
heard.
black mom in Blade, who abandoned him as a baby. That's Marin from this movie in the '80s.
I like the fan fiction section of the show now. I'm a huge fan of this.
Look, this is Nick Taz's Let's Get Fan Fiction
Let's get
podcast
fan
corner.
fiction corner.
The fan fiction corner.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, I recommend this movie highly. I thought it was really great. I'm actually going to buy it because I've seen so many weird, creepy movies last year and this year that I love. And this is up there with the two Cronenberg movies, Crimes of the Future and Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool, which actually came out this year. But these are three of my favorite movies, and they're three of the weirdest, oddest things. Luca Guadagnino's great. Call Me by Your Name is a really good movie. It's not as great as everybody says it is. There's a few things. There's a few points of contention I have with it, but it's still a good movie. And Timothy Chalamet and Armie Hammer, an actual cannibal, put on great performances in that movie.
Dude, what if he kind of was like a ghost producer on this flick?
Well, that is something.
Or real fiction.
That is a joke I've seen a bunch of people make on Twitter when this movie was coming out. Was like, wow, the last Luca Guadagnino movie was Timothy Chalamet and a real cannibal, Armie Hammer, and now Timothy Chalamet is playing a cannibal.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not 100% convinced that I don't know the story.
It was a kink.
I'm going off vibes. I don't think Armie Hammer actually committed any crimes. But
yeah, he's a white male. He doesn't do anything wrong. We don't condemn them.
What's the big fucking deal?
It's a big deal.
So he killed an Ada girl. Oh. I just watched a movie where that was awesome. No, I don't know what he did. Correct me in the comments if he actually did something. Because I thought, like you said, I thought it was like a kink. But whatever. Do you have to go right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we're going to wrap it up. Do you recommend this film to our fans?
I do recommend this film. I love a film that goes off the beaten path and has that art element to it, which this movie did. Cool story, interesting shots. I was intrigued like pretty much the whole time. I was interested in the characters and where things were going and how they were kind of going to fit into this world and make it together. Like, I was like all in. I thought it was great.
I loved it. I'm sorry. I got to keep you for one more thing. I'm really sorry,
cool.
but we got to have this discussion because Chloe Sevigny is hot. She's crazy hot. She's hot.
Oh yeah, she is hot.
So, you're the black dad from the first part of this movie. You're a man.
Do I do the voice or no?
No. Did he have a? Was he an '80s?
He's
Did
like,
he have
I
'80s
can't
black
take
guy
care of you
voice?
no mo.
That's
My, that's my impression. That's,
you're just a regular dude from the Midwest. You're an Ohio dude. You you marry you hook up with this smoking hot chick.
yep.
How how much cannibalism do you put up with? How much cannibalism do you put up with from your hot ass girlfriend or hot ass wife before you're like, I can't fucking
I
do
don't.
this anymore?
Here's when I don't want to do it. When I have to like clean it up. If she was doing it on the sly and like on her own time, like maybe every like once or twice a year, she's like, I actually need help. This one was messy. Then I would say, then I would like
You're
stick
not
with
even
it.
talking about eating somebody once or twice a year. You just mean like you having to help.
I
You
don't want
having
to
to
help.
get you don't want to get the Swiffer out more than twice a year.
No, I don't. I'm like, I'm doing my own thing. Like that's your hobby. I don't want the hobby to bleed.
Is it
To
cheating if
me.
your hot wife kills and eats a dude? Is
Um,
that like
I
cheating
just
on
don't
her?
want to know about it. It's just like I don't want to know about it a whole lot. It's like a weird like open relationship where it's like you can do it. I just don't want to know about it and like, put me first. Like don't skip out on Taco Tuesday or like a
Yeah.
tradition because you got to go, swallow a manhole or woman.
You are just an '80s dude. You're just like Taco Tuesday. We can't miss it. That's
Yeah,
every
every
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's every
That's
Tuesday in this household. You're
all
just
I
trying to
ask.
have you're trying to
All I
have
ask.
Reagan era household rules, and your wife is eating people.
Yeah.
But it's like that old phrase, which maybe this is a sexist phrase, but whatever. I'll say it. It's like no matter how beautiful a woman is, somewhere there's a man who's sick of her shit, or somewhere there's a man who's tired of her. Whatever, however it goes. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, no matter how hot Chloe Savini is, she's a cannibal, and so is your daughter. And
But
you're just
what if that was the only thing, about her? Like everything else, she was like pretty cool, like the rest of the time.
that's what I'm asking, because that's the thing is I don't know how
I'd be
long I'd
in.
put up with it.
I'd be in.
And it's also funny because it is like when you see hot single women, they're all you like ask them how are you single, and they're like I don't know, I'm super awesome, I can't believe I'm single, and then you're
Yeah.
like this is why you're single, because you're a cannibal. You're gonna eat my
Yeah.
heart out.
I do be thinking single women are cannibals now, though. That's the only
You
bummer.
you do be thinking that, do you?
Be
That should
thinking.
be the name. That's the new name of the podcast. Is I do be thinking.
I do be thinking.
I do be thinking. All right. Thanks everybody. Go watch Luca Guadagnino's latest film, Bones and All. We didn't even get to like the significance of the title or whatever, but it's really really good. It's way if you're into stuff that's creepy and weird and atmospheric and interesting, it's like an '80s time capsule, but it's not made in the '80s. I don't know. It's fantastic. I really
Yeah.
really thought it was
I
great.
loved it. I
There's a lot
definitely
of
recommend it.
yeah, and there's a lot of fun, interesting moments in it. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great night.